Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to our very bookish channel, and we are doing it again. We have another Freida McFadden reading vlog. So in this Freida vlog, Jen and I are reading the same books. We are reading The Perfect Son, which I'm about to start right now. I just purchased it on the Kindle app and it's in my tablet. So The Perfect Son. Then we're going to be reading her new novella that's coming out, or a short story. I don't know what she's technically calling it, but it's a shorter story. It's called The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie. And then we're going to be reading Dead Med. And Dead Med was sort of revamped from the original story of Suicide Med. So neither Jen and I have read Suicide Med, and you can't get copies of it anymore. So we're not going to read Suicide Med, but we are going to be getting our hands on the newest version of that book called Dead Med and reading that for this vlog. So this is going to be a good one. I am really excited.
It is time for our latest Freida McFadden. You guys know how much we love Freida McFadden books, and we are celebrating this round because she has a new novella out, and she just released Perfect Son with her newest publisher. She had self-published this, I think, through Amazon. There is a screenshot I had taken because she talks about this on Facebook, and she said there are some edits from the original one, but she didn't feel like it was too heavily changed. If you have the original one, I don't know how much you would feel like you have to read the one she just published. So I picked this one up and I did start it. This one already, as soon as I was a couple chapters in, I felt confused because the cover shows what I feel looks like a little boy. The first couple chapters, she mentions that her son is 16 years old. And then I got to the next chapter and it's kind of like a flashback or telling a story from when he is like 6 or 7 or something like that. The kind of a different setup for her than I'm used to. And it already changes perspective, so you don't get just one perspective. I am liking that it's a little different than I'm used to with Freida. I'm sure it'll have the usual twists. The other thing that I'm doing that I'm going to show you guys, so if you watch our channel, you know we just did a secret vlog where we visited little free libraries. I had a lot of fun because this year I ended up finding some pretty cool books. I went to several little free libraries. There were a few duds. There were some that only had kids books, but there was one that I particularly liked, and I'm gonna go back today. And I felt bad because I had taken 2 the day that I was there. One of the books that was there that I left was Verity by Colleen Hoover it was a hardcover version with the extra chapter. And I thought it might be nice, speaking of Freida, I already read this in a previous Freida vlog. I am going to go there, and if the Verity fan hasn't already read Freida or Ward D, then maybe that person will go there and see this, and a lucky surprise. How often, how many times do I want to find a Freida I haven't read? When I go to a little free library, I'm going to put that karma out there and give it to someone. So they're going to get a free Freida book, and I will show you guys what I find when I get there. All right, so I guess I pressed my luck. There wasn't anything this time in the little free library, but I feel someone will really enjoy getting the Freida McFadden Ward D, so I feel good about that. I may end up visiting more little free libraries sometime soon. I don't know if it's gonna be today. I'm going to get my nails done and continue reading The Perfect Son. I know I had mentioned reading Perfect Son and I showed the cover and how it looks like a little boy, but something that I thought was kind of cool is you can see in the lettering that his shadow is in there, and she always posts about how much she loves when she's getting these republished books because she feels they are much better than the original ones that she has published on her own. And I really like that. And I wanted to show you guys that if you haven't watched our channel before, I had gotten these bookmarks, me and Amanda, I sent it to her, that has all of Freida's books. And I don't know what it is about these wooden bookmarks. I have gotten several now and I just really like it, but I really thought it was cool. I did get it on Etsy, and I'm gonna have to remember to give Amanda the link for that as well if you had wanted to buy something like that. I am a big Etsy fan. I'm gonna head back into The Perfect Son.
Hey y'all, reading update time. I am on chapter 29, which feels like almost halfway through the book. And Freida books go so fast. Like, it just, like, you start the book and then all of a sudden you're almost halfway. I don't know how she does it, but you know, it must be the secret to the short chapters or something, and the very easy to read writing. I don't know, but I am almost halfway, and this book started off a little slow. I mean, not slow, like it didn't start slow, but it was just kind of harder for me to get into. Usually with Freida McFadden books, like, I can just jump right in and start off going so fast, and I'm just gripped from like the first chapter. But this book took a little bit for me to wrap my mind around and to really get into. But now it's going like really fast. It's really interesting. You're following a family, and specifically the point of view of the mother. And she has a son that, you know, was a little troubled when he was a child, and she doesn't think he's normal. And there is a girl that he's interested in that's gone missing, and the whole town is blaming him for it. And you're kind of being led to believe that it's him, but, or at least led to believe that he's capable of kidnapping this girl. But we all know with Freida books that's usually not the case. So I'm just trying to figure out what else it could be. And I have a few theories, but of course they're probably wrong, and I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to. If I'm right, I feel like it's obviously a spoiler, and if I tell you I'm not right, it's obviously a spoiler, because then you know it's not it, and you're whatever else you could be thinking. So anyways, I just want you to know that the book is going pretty fast now, and I really want to get this mystery solved. I really do want to find out what happened to this girl, and I'll be able to read a little bit more today. I don't think I'll finish the book today, but I do feel like I'll get a lot more reading done, and then be able to update you tomorrow or check in with final thoughts. Because with the Freida books, with all the twists, it's really hard to give updates when you're later into the book because you don't want to spoil anything or give anything away. So I'll either check back with you with some more thoughts after I read a little bit more, or see you at final thoughts.
So at the beginning, you also get a story from when he was younger, and maybe it's the first time that his mom became very concerned with him. It's a little bit of a disturbing story. I can see why Erica, who's his mom, would be concerned. And now you're mostly seeing the story when he's 16 years old, and his mom is very anxious as to the activities that he's doing and trying to save those around him, I guess is the only way you can really say that, as you're getting more and more of the story. She or someone alludes to another incident when he was 13. You don't get details of that. Maybe that'll come out later. But I'm sure there's more to it. There's always more with Freida. I feel like we're going to find out even more. And I am very curious to see where this one is going. I'm reading some before work, and I'm just over 100 pages. There was a plot twist. Not exactly with the son, but I have a feeling it's connected.
All right, y'all. I have finished The Perfect Son. Freida McFadden books just go by so fast. I know we say that in every single video, and I know you guys have read the books and know it too, but it's just like something I just have to note when I'm thinking of this book. Like, some books take me like 5 days, 10 days to read, and Freida McFadden's book take like a day or two. But I have finished The Perfect Son, and this book was, I felt like this book was good. I'm really glad I read it. It took a bit for me to get into, but I got into it and just flew through, and I really enjoyed the story. It was just more of a typical thriller for me. Like, there was some twist, of course, in the book, true to Freida's style, but this just didn't have like mind-blowing twist or twist like Freida usually has. So this book was good. I think I'm giving it 4 stars. I think I've given all of Freida's books 4 stars because even though I like some more than others, there's just never been that, you know, layer or factor that has just pushed it to 5 stars for me. But they're really good too and entertaining. And yes, even though I like some more than others, they've just all been 4 stars because none of them have been 3 stars. You know, they've never been as low as 3 stars. If you like domestic thrillers, if you like, you know, kind of a darker thriller, this is probably a good one for you. All right, so I have The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie pulled up, and I'll probably just get this finished today because it's only like 100 pages, and 100 pages in Freida books is super fast. So probably like an hour and 15 minutes of reading. So I am just gonna jump right in and let you guys know what I think.
Okay, first off, I didn't record anymore for The Perfect Son. I finished because I wasn't feeling very well, and I was basically in bed all day yesterday and very sick, and I still feel kind of nasally. But I was not in a condition to be recording, at least that I wanted to film. So I did finish because it went very quick and helped take my mind off of being sick, which was also a bonus. I really enjoyed this one of her better ones. I would say top tier Freida. I definitely would recommend this of the Freida books. I mean, I usually recommend all of Freida's books. What am I saying? But if there were ones to choose above others, I would say this one is one of the top tier ones for me, at least. And I kind of guessed, again, partially what the twist was, but typical Freida had many twists. There were a couple I did not guess. And she did the very end twist in the final pages again. And I didn't know what to think about that. And of course, I always have to watch talking about that portion since I don't want to include spoilers. And it just made me think, is all I'm gonna say. The other thing I came on here to record, I got a package today, even though it's from Amazon. But it was the only way for me to get one of these. I know it's inside of here because today is publication day for a novella from Ms. Freida McFadden. And I'm super excited because it is The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie, and that's a title. It's very short, it's a novella, but this one I noticed is a satirical novella. So I've been seeing some posts on social media. Everyone's been talking about this, especially in the Freida group, but my other psychological thriller groups are also talking about this book, seeing a lot of great things, but especially they were talking about how funny it is and how people should keep in mind that this is satire and very different, supposedly, than what she normally writes. And why I'm excited about this is when she writes post Freida as herself on social media, She is so funny. Sometimes her posts just make me laugh out loud because she just has a very unique take on things, life in general. She'll talk about things in her life, family things, things that she notices since becoming more well known as an author. But I'm very eager to see just how much she infuses humor into this. It's probably going to be like a one sitting type thing, but I might record somewhere along the line as I'm reading this just to remark on it, since I'm not as sick as I was, but I'm still feeling like the nasally thing. Stay tuned. I'm going to dive right into this one. Already the dedication made me laugh because she dedicates it to her cat for constantly walking on her keyboard, which I thought was a little cute. And then the prologue is already screaming satire because it pretty much just makes fun of how everyone is always trying to guess what the plot twist is going to be and who the killer is. So Freida's definitely having fun with this one. All right, Freida. So in chapter 2, she already is kind of poking fun at herself because the narrator has a book on her table and it's a Freida McFadden book. But what's not real is that it's The Boyfriend, which isn't even out yet. But as soon as they said the title, The Boyfriend, and then start talking about the author, I literally laughed out loud. And then the character says that she already has it figured out, even though she's like on page 2 or something. Hilarious, because people are constantly saying they figured her books out. And I'll never forget that someone said that with The Ex, which is my favorite one, and she said so very sarcastically that even she never figured it out, which is funny because The Ex is like that. Anyway, I am enjoying this and I'm only on chapter 3. It's just making me laugh. I thought I would finish this last night, but I'm more worn out from not feeling well than I thought. I fell asleep and I'm starting to lose my voice, which is fantastic. Anyway, I read a few more chapters. I'm going to work today. It's reminding me of the movie on Netflix that was kind of making fun of the psychological thriller movies and movie adaptations, I guess, from thrillers. And it was called The Woman in the House Across the Street from the House of the Girl in the Window or something like that. I can put a picture on the screen, but I saw it and it was just really making fun of the genre, especially since the woman in the book, Woman in the Window, Girl in the Window, Girl on the Train. Some of these I'm getting confused. She was constantly drinking wine in that book, so she was a very unreliable narrator because she was drunk like all the time. But the woman in this movie, and I'm forgetting the actress's name right now, she's a comedic actress, but she was like constantly drinking wine. Anyway, I am probably gonna finish it tonight, I hope, if I don't fall asleep again, and I will give more updates if I haven't lost my voice. I finished. It took me longer than I thought it would, but I just kept being tired at the end of the day and it dragged out a little bit. It is definitely satire. She says it on the cover. I was going to show you guys some comments she's made on her Facebook group because, as usual, people are just making all kinds of comments in these psychological thriller groups. I think Amazon reviews too, where they're not realizing it's satire, and I guess that's just funny in and of itself, but it is over the top in terms of, and I guess that's the definition of satire, is it's just very over the top, poking fun at herself, poking fun at her books and psychological thrillers, and just like that movie I told you about earlier that was on Netflix, kind of poking fun at some of the tropes that happen in psychological thrillers. I definitely was amused by this book, but I am ready to jump right into her next thriller. And though this is an older one, it's called Dead Med. She renamed it and tweaked this book because she originally had called it Suicide Med. It was one of her first ones. I'm not entirely sure in what order, if it was like her third written book, but I know it's not her first book. I am interested to see what this one's about. This one's a lot thicker. It's going to take me a little while unless it's really good and I rip right through it. Ready to see what this one's all about. I'll let you guys know some thoughts after I'm in maybe a quarter of the way. After something happens I feel worth talking about.
Hey y'all, it is later the next day, and yesterday I did finish The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie, and I like this book a lot. I just think that short stories usually don't do it for me, but Freida just packs such a punch. I don't know how she fits all of it in 100, I think this was 124 pages, I think is the page count of the book. I don't know, but I think it was just over 100 pages, and she gets so much story in. Like, I do want more, obviously, but the story was just so good. It is mentioning that it's supposed to be a satire, and although it's not laugh out loud funny, which I don't think satires are laugh out loud funny, but the book has sort of this feel to it that's like, really? Like, how many times can lightning strike the same spot? You know, like that kind of thing. Like, it just is like kind of realistic but unrealistic that all these circumstances would happen to the same person at the same, you know, in the same time span, the short time span of this book. So there's that aspect of it, which is really funny. It's a really good story. I don't want to say cute because it's definitely not like a cute story, but it is a fun, quick story. If you need like a really quick pick me up, like you want to read a book in one setting or one day, this would be a fantastic book for you to just pick up and start reading because it's easy to read and it goes by quick and you can definitely do it in one day, and it's such a good little story. Alright guys, so I have just downloaded the book for Dead Med on my tablet and gonna just jump right in and start reading this one and let you guys know what I think. I really wish I had read Suicide Med so that I could see the differences, because I'm very curious to know now what was changed. Like, what is the difference between Suicide Med and Dead Med? What did she have to change in the books? Like, why did she feel like she had to fix things? Or why did the editors feel like they had to fix things with Suicide Med? I don't know. But really excited to get into this one. So here we go.
I am about 50 pages into Dead Med, and right now everything is just kind of giving you story building up to not sure what. Prologue seems kind of out there at the minute because it doesn't fit with anything I've read so far of what is being set up for us. The prologue kind of intimated that there was murder happening, but with Freida, you never know. That's the assumption. Nothing is confirmed in the prologue. And I know she's been joking lately, especially with that novella, the satire novella, that no one ever reads the prologue. And I don't know, is that a thing? Do people not read prologues? I mean, to me, you're gonna get something informational from that. So I don't know why people would skip the prologue. I don't know if that's a joke or not, or if that's seriously people don't read the prologue. Anywho, so the 50 pages so far have just been setting up what's going on at this school. You see the perspective through Heather, and first year med student. She's kind of struggling, not studying as much, having a hard time concentrating. And you're meeting the students around her, her roommate, other people in her study group, her lab group. And I don't know if any of them are going to, you're always suspicious in Freida novels, like, are any of them going to be trying to murder somebody? I don't know. The weirdest thing so far is there's like rumors of students dying like every 2 years. I don't think it's every year, but the rumors because they're taking drugs. The prologue definitely didn't show that. So I don't know if that's just a facade for something deeper going on, some killing, some murdering, or what's going on. I just read the parts where drugs are looking awfully good to her because she's trying to stay up and get caffeinated so that she can study and pass her tests and such. I would think that's where students usually end up in a situation where they need drugs because they're trying to stay up and studying and all of that. I don't know if that was the point of that. Some of this is interesting to me because Freida is in the medical field. I don't know exactly what she does. There was a rumor she was a surgeon, and either she's trying to preserve her privacy and she's been saying she's not a surgeon, or I don't know, but she has admitted to being in the medical field. So some of this I feel might be when she was in medical school, it might have influenced this book. The creepiest scenes have been so far when they're working with the cadavers. I can't even imagine what that would be like to work with cadavers. And I just kind of feel there's gonna be a scene that they're working with cadavers and it ends up being like another student or someone that's murdered. Something I feel is gonna happen. I'm gonna keep reading and I will let you guys know anything crazy or any twists that happen. But so far it's been pretty normal, setting the scene and showing us all the players in Dead Men.
Hey y'all, have an update for you guys. I've made it to part 2, and in part 2 of Dead Med, you are switching point of views. Part 1 was Heather's point of view, part 2 is Abe's point of view, and then I think there's a third part, or maybe even fourth part, but more parts in the book where there are going to be other points of views. Now, I have not gotten that far. I am a little bit into Abe's point of view, and I also have to say I do not like when you switch point of views and you relive the same thing, the same plot, the same incident, just from someone else's perspective. As a plot-driven reader, I feel like I get stalled and the book goes nowhere, and I hate that. So the beginning of Abe's point of view has been a little disappointing because you're just kind of going back to the first day of school, which you also got from Heather's point of view, and you're getting it from his point of view. So it is different, but it's also the same things happening. So a little bit stall there. I hope when we switch points of view again, it won't backtrack and just keep moving from that point forward, someone else's point of view, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I am going to finish up my coffee, and I will have about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do some reading, which that can go a long way in a Freida book. So I will update y'all after I get a couple more hours in.
I'm about 100 pages in, and it ended on a note where something Heather found you don't know, but she is shocked. And it has something to do with Abe, but you don't know what it is. And part 2 is Abe, so maybe we'll find out exactly what she found or get more of the story at least. And I don't know if it's just because of Heather's part or if Freida was just doing this maybe as a red herring, but she brings up drugs a lot in terms of thinking maybe she needs some drugs to get through all of the studying late and getting through the day, or noticing that people might be on drugs and hearing stories about people had accidentally overdosed. And I don't know exactly where the drug portion of this is going to come up or how it's going to come out in the end, but there's a lot of talk of drugs and drugs in general, not even anything specific. So let's see what Abe has to say, and maybe we'll get to find out exactly what Heather found. All right, guys, I made it up to part 3, and part 3 is Rachel, which is one of the 5 who, I wouldn't say they're all friends, but they're in the lab together as a group. I'm not as familiar with medical school, so I'm used to like lab partners, but there's a group. At the beginning, it's explained that the roommates are put together in the group. So Rachel and Heather are roommates, Mason and Abe are roommates, and then there's the outlier who I think she says she commutes or is in an apartment or something, and her name is Sasha. So now that Rachel is getting her part, I'm assuming Mason and Sasha are gonna get their own parts too, We did find a lot out in Abe's part. You were left kind of on a cliffhanger with Heather. She finds something out about Abe. You do kind of find out, but I feel like there was more to that story, because when Heather found whatever information that she was freaking out about, I don't know how it could be, how she found it. I don't know how that's what we found out. It's hard to say. I don't want to say what it is because I feel like it's a spoiler. So it's hard to describe what I'm trying to say. But I feel like there's more to the story. I don't know what we're going to find out in Rachel's because we don't know that much about her. Heather and Abe had been together and you saw those two interact a lot. So now that we're getting into Rachel's part, we might find maybe some plot twists, some classic Freida plot twists. And I obviously know there's a lot more going on with Mason for sure. And you find out something a little bit about Mason and Sasha and Abe's part. So there's a lot going on. Let's see what Rachel has to tell us. I just finished Rachel's part and it ended on an unexpected and kind of shocking turn of events. You don't really know, again, exactly what happened, and kind of ended on a cliffhanger, I guess you would say. And the next part I'm in is Mason's. Rachel's part was, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of her character, so I was not enjoying that part much. Her character is just very manipulative and just kind of horrible. But now Mason, you're already getting some clues that there's some more pieces of this puzzle that is slowly coming together. So I will update you. I guess Sasha's going to be the last part, which is a little odd, but we'll see. Maybe it's not going to be how it ends. I'm starting to think I know why Sasha's the last one, if she is the last one for the parts. A theory is formulating. Just going to say, I knew it. I knew it, but there's more book left, but I knew it. I thought Sasha was going to end up being the last viewpoint, but you're getting another viewpoint you haven't had before. I won't say it just in case that's considered a spoiler, but now I'm curious to see what this perspective is going to add to the story.
All right, y'all, I have finished Dead Med, and I'm going to go over my thoughts on this book, and then I will wrap it up with my final thoughts on all 3 of the books that we read in this vlog. So Dead Med felt very different to me. I felt like this book, I got sucked in the beginning, and I don't know if it was just the structure of the book or if the story is just different or a very different setting than the Freida books that I read. It just felt very different. But in the beginning, I got sucked into the book. And then about halfway through during part 3, which is Rachel's point of view, I started feeling like the story was taking a turn I did not want it to take. And it didn't stop. Like, it just, I don't know. I personally, and I can't say too much because I don't want to give away spoilers, but I personally do not like what happens to these characters and how the story ends. I don't want to give anything away, and I think I'm probably not the majority. I think a lot of people will probably like this book. I did enjoy the different setting of the medical school. I thought that was a fun setting. It's a little bit different than, you know, the domestic type thrillers. Just like Ward D, I really enjoyed Ward D because I liked the setting of the mental hospital wing. I thought that was fun. I didn't mind switching points of view in this book because it's large chunks. Part 1 is one point of view, all of part 2 is another point of view, all of part 3 is another point of view, and so on. So it's not really like you're switching back and forth quickly between the characters. But it's just, I don't know. I just don't have that good feeling of how the story ended. And that's just my thoughts on it, and I am curious to know. I was looking through some Goodreads reviews, and I think that some people agree with me. A lot of people overwhelmingly really liked the book. So if you have read this book, and I know we have a lot of viewers that watch the Freida vlogs and read the Freida books. If you've read this book, can you please comment below and or send us an email? Our email is linked in the description of the video, and just to discuss the book, I guess, because I will talk about it with Jen, of course, but I'm curious to know what y'all think. I believe that Dead Med was originally Suicide Med, and it was one of her first novels. So obviously authors evolve and they kind of hone their talent down, and they figure out what works and doesn't work. It's a learning process. I get it. I'm still gonna rate the book high. I liked it. I like all of the Freida books. Just in ranking order of Freida books, this one is probably not my favorite. It's probably more closer to the bottom. And it wasn't the writing, it wasn't the twist or anything. I just didn't like the ending. Just didn't give me that good feeling in the end. That's all I'm gonna say. It's really hard to talk about it without giving away spoilers. So if you've read the book, you probably know what I'm talking about. Whether you agree or disagree with me, you probably understand. And I would say if you like Freida books, I would definitely read this one. I want to read all her books. And I think a lot of Freida readers like to read all of her books. I'm not saying to skip this one. I'm just saying that personally, it's not my favorite.
All right, the rest of the book went really, really fast. You got another perspective after the one that I just told you guys about, and then an epilogue. And the epilogue is about from someone completely different. And I actually really enjoyed the epilogue a lot. Except I do have some questions from what was said. I can't be clearer than that because I would be giving away information that I don't want to give away. But I will be back with final thoughts.
All right, y'all, final thoughts on all three Freida McFadden books that we read. I read them all on my tablet, so that's why I am showing this here. I just thought it was easier to buy the ebooks and read them. Plus, with Freida books on the Amazon Kindle app, it has the scroll feature, and I love the scroll feature. Not all books will let you scroll, but when you can just scroll the book instead of turning the pages or hitting the button to turn the page, and you can just keep scrolling continuously, I feel like I can just read them so quickly, especially the Freida books. It's just, they're gripping and they're so easy to read and follow, and I just feel like I'm just flying by. So I did purchase all three ebooks, not the physical books, but I do want to continue to grow my Freida collection of physical books. It's just when I can find them out in the store, I'll probably pick them up, and I am planning a Barnes trip soon, so maybe I'll get some books there. Of all three of the books, obviously my least favorite was probably Dead Med, and like I had already said, that's only because I didn't really like how the story ended and the story that unfolded later in the book. For my favorite of the three, I'm gonna have to say The Perfect Son, just because the short story was super fun and entertaining, but I'm not a huge fan of short stories. I've already said that. I just don't feel like you can get super immersed and into the book before it's over. But I will say, Freida packs a punch. Like, her short stories are really good, and I feel like she puts a lot in those 100 or so pages of those stories, and you still get really great twists. You still get that emotional attachment to the characters and investment in the things that they're going through, and you still are shocked at the end, and you are left thinking at the end of the book. You still, like, the Freida books, one reason I love them is at the end, after all the twists are said and done and you get the whole story, you're still thinking about the book. So the short story does that definitely, but my favorite is The Perfect Son. I felt like the stakes were high. I felt like it was gripping. I felt like it kept me entertained. I felt like the story progressed good. I felt like the ending was great. It is a little ambiguous at the end. It ended kind of like I could picture it like a movie ending, you know, like you are done with the book, you're done with the story, you're happy with everything, and then there's that one little thing that could be interpreted a couple of different ways. And I feel like that's okay. I don't like completely ambiguous endings. I don't like completely up in the air endings where I'm just kind of like, what the heck happened? But this book leaves you just a little bit where you keep thinking about it, and I do really like those types of stories. So favorite book was The Perfect Son. The next favorite book was The Widow Husband's Secret Lie, and then Dead Med. If you guys have read Suicide Med, please let me know in the comments below, because I would be curious if you've read them both, what the differences are. Based on the comments on Goodreads, people that read Suicide Med a while ago and then picked up Dead Med were kind of like, I already read this book. This is a book you've already put out. So I don't think they understood that it was just a little revamp. Freida said that she changed like maybe 25% of the book. She took out a weird plot point and shortened the book a little bit. So I think that's, if you've read Suicide Med, I don't think you need to read Dead Med, but if you've read both, I'm just curious to know what the plot point was she took out and what the difference is. So would love to hear your thoughts on that. And if you have made it all the way to the end of this video, will you please put a boy emoji in the comments below for The Perfect Son. Since that was my favorite book, let's just put a boy emoji in the comments below.
I am back with final thoughts on the 3 that we did for this vlog. Thought about it, and of the 3, I really like the most Dead Med. I didn't feel that way at the very beginning of this, and even during Rachel's part in this book, I just felt it was moving kind of slow or something. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was kind of pushing myself, it felt like. But the more I read, the more it really grew on me, and I really love this story as a whole. I liked seeing it from every perspective. Things that there were situations that you saw from more than one perspective, and I liked the twist that Freida had in this one. As you guys saw, I had on the screen, she had the differences between when she had written this as Suicide Med. I think she said she wrote it in 2014, I want to say it was, and years later, just recently, within this past year, a couple months even, she fixed it because she noticed what readers had been saying about it, things that were bothering her about it, and she decided to fix it, rename it, and put it out again. There are people that, there's a divided camp on people that really had, that seemingly read both, that really liked Suicide Med and didn't like that she took some things out of it. I mean, I feel like you can never make people happy. No matter what she does, I feel like you're gonna get criticism, because trying to make everyone happy is an impossible task. I didn't read that one. I'm not going to try and read that one right now, because you can't get that one. There are people selling it for hundreds of dollars on eBay and other used book sites. So I have no desire to go read that one, when she herself said she wasn't really happy with that version. So of the 3, this one I really, really loved. And if I had to choose, it would be this one. I feel like it's not fair, because this one is different for Freida. This one is completely satire. I feel it was just a little humor thrown at us, because I almost feel like she was getting some things off her chest, because there are just things that readers do and you know, comment to her on Facebook. I don't know about Instagram, how much she interacts with people on there, but I feel she was maybe getting some aggression out in some ways, some things that she was, I don't know. I feel like it was her humor to get some of that frustration out that she continually hears from readers about they figured out the plot twist on page 2 and, you know, those kinds of things. I did enjoy this, even though when I read it, I was sick and I wasn't able, because I really thought I was going to get through with this like in one sitting, but it just didn't happen that way. And I think I really just enjoy her more serious, her thriller / horror, because I just love her books. I mean, but I do feel like this was like a gift for us and was really funny. The Perfect Son, I did really enjoy this one too. I feel like all 3 this round I very much enjoyed. I know some of hers were on the lower list of Freida books when we've done some vlogs. I know I wasn't a big fan of Do Not Disturb, was one of the ones that's towards the bottom. I can't remember, but I want to say that now Dead Med is in my top 3. So The Ex and The Housemaid are still top spots. And then Dead Med has overtaken The Inmate. The Inmate I thought was really good, but I like this one a lot. I mean, for a little while there, I started to think this one was going to take #1 spot, because towards the end, I couldn't put it down. And there was something that I guessed for sure, and I was proud of myself, even though I don't know if she was giving it to us. And there's something that I thought was going to happen and didn't. And then the epilogue, I feel I didn't really understand how one character knew something about another character, unless it's just suspected, or there's things that we don't know that she didn't give the information because you're seeing it from one viewpoint. And she has a lot of chat groups where she will jump in and talk about like readers' questions. She did that a lot with The Teacher because a lot of people didn't follow the ending of The Teacher. And I happened to go into the one for this one, and she does kind of explain it. So I felt a little better that she explained the ending. And I don't want to obviously say and give away the ending, but I did feel better after I saw her explain it a little bit. But that was the only detraction for me, was it just seemed kind of strange that characters knew things that there was no way I could see that they would know them. But she does say that she has learned that readers don't always like that suspension of belief, or that there are things happening in the background that you're not necessarily being told. And she's right, because I do feel like I like being told things. Those are my final thoughts, all 3. Very good Freida vlog this round. Love them, especially Dead Med. So if you haven't picked this one up, this one unfortunately is only available, I mean, you might find it in a used bookstore, but it's only available through Amazon right now. It's not republished through Source Books yet, so it's not going to be at like a Walmart or a Target or anything like that until it gets republished. And the same goes for this one. I think she has it on Audible now, but this one is only again through Amazon. And then this one is everywhere that you can get a regular paperback. Barnes & Noble definitely has that. So where I got my copy, it would be at like your Walmart and your Target and everywhere that sells books, because Source Books did that one. The next Freida vlog that you're going to see us with is The Boyfriend. I'm not sure yet which ones we're going to read. I'm assuming to do a couple more. I still haven't read One by One. I own that one. Other than that one, I think there are 6 total I haven't read yet. And what I'm looking at is my wooden bookmark. And on here, it's still listed as Suicide Med. The Boyfriend is already on here. Brain Damage is another one I haven't read. Baby City. And I'm not sure that one is a thriller. I thought I saw somewhere where that one is not considered a thriller. The Devil You Know, The Devil Wears Scrubs. Those 2 I haven't read yet either. But everything else I have read. So we will be back for October 1st. I don't think we're going to get the electronic ARC or a physical ARC, unfortunately. That makes me very sad. But I will be picking it up on October 1st. We'll be vlogging that one with probably 2 other books, maybe. I gotta talk to Amanda about that one. And keep your eye out for that. Let us know in the comments if you've read any of these Freida books, what your thoughts are on them. Obviously, we welcome all Freida fans to all our Freida vlogs because we're gonna eventually read all of them. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.